Chapter 5 by J.D. Kempen. All rights reserved. Copyright by Compass and Coin Publishing.
The air felt thick as Mason, Sarah, and Leonardo slipped into the grand university commons. Banners hung high over gleaming floors, applauding a class of graduates who brimmed with pride and dreams. But for the three friends, all the applause felt hollow. The three friends looked at the graduation stage, where a huge portrait of Samantha loomed above. Her smile was captured like a taunt, as though she knew how hard it would be for them to sit through this ceremony with her picture staring down at them. Mason tugged down his graduation cap to cast a shadow over his face, hoping to hide the emptiness in his eyes. Graduating with his electrical engineering degree should have felt different. Today should have felt like a beginning. But all he felt was a small ping of guilt, like an echo in a quiet room. She'd been more than his lab partner. She'd been the glue, even the matchmaker, in his relationship with Sarah, texting him until he connected with her. And now, with Sarah's hand resting loosely in his, he couldn't escape the unease, the silence filled with questions about Samantha's death. Beside him, Sarah's face was unreadable, her sleep-deprived brown eyes fixed on Samantha's picture as if she could will her back. If she focused hard enough, she almost believed Samantha was simply late, that any second, she'd appear, laughing, walking in as if nothing had happened. But the guilt gnawed at her, sharp and relentless. She didn't know why, couldn't name it, but she wanted to run. Steal her mathematics degree from the dean, slip out, and let today vanish into memory like a stone in a river, lost and buried. Leonardo stood a step apart, his hands woven through his gown and shoved deep into his pockets, shoulders tensed as if he could brace himself against a storm. The oldest and wisest of the group, he wore his grief with a quiet gravity, a shield he had hoped would hold. Thoughts swirled in his mind, accusations he couldn't silence. He'd made too many mistakes, hadn't he? Ignoring Sam's anger, letting Sarah bend the rules to take her finals, allowing Casper to enter into that pact. He couldn't escape his father's words, choose what is right over what is easy. He swallowed, realizing that maybe shutting down Casper, not allowing equality, would have been the right choice after all. They exchanged quiet nods, greetings barely above whispers. Their eyes drifted to Samantha's empty seat, where the university had placed a framed portrait of her. It felt like a knife to the heart, each of them pierced by the unspoken accusation in that empty space. Mason, craving an escape from the suffocating tension, attempted a smile.
Remember when Samantha drew Casper as the friendly ghost outside of Whipford Manor? We told him it was his portrait, and his response was he'd never haunt some creaky old house. He'd want a sleek, high-tech mansion.
Leonardo's lips curved into a wry smile, his voice dipping into a low monotone to imitate Casper.
Why is the portrait smiling? I have no emotions.
Switching back to his normal tone, he added,
Classic Casper. Those early days were incredible. Teaching him, learning from him, it was like magic. I thought we'd be unstoppable together.
Sarah's gaze never left Samantha's picture.
Where did we go wrong? We started out trying to change the world. But somewhere along the way, we turned on each other.
Leonardo's expression clouded, his mind replaying scenes he couldn't forget.
Just 5 days ago, she lost it. Samantha slammed her fist on the table, threw her monitor to the floor. Casper had failed the elevated Turing test, for the 7th time.
Mason nodded, his face a reflection of the grief he tried to suppress.
She was so frustrated. She'd poured everything into Casper and into the team, and now... How did we end up here?
I remember as code flew through Casper's 5-layer design, hitting every marker on his 5-layer brain. Samantha always said the classic Turing test from the 1950s was way too basic, so she came up with her own elevated Turing test. This test restricted Casper's access to certain knowledge databases, forced him to think critically and problem-solve under pressure.
It was intense, a gauntlet test, meant to push Casper's limits and actually gauge if he was sentient or just a machine.
Samantha was hardly sleeping those days. Casper always got close to passing the test, closer than any machine ever, but the spark of consciousness, That one final leap, it was just always out of reach.
No matter what, he was still bound by his programming. So close, so brilliant, but always just a step away from truly being more.
They all fell silent, their unspoken agreement thick in the air. Mason looked again at Samantha's smiling portrait, her eyes wide and innocent, the smile untouched by bitterness.
We knew Samantha was frustrated, but that did not give her the right to betray us. She betrayed the team with that virus. Her frustration turned to anger. I can't even remember the last time she smiled.
The memories felt sharp now, like nails scraping against a chalkboard. As they turned toward their seats, Sarah demanded their attention.
We have to meet at Lucky's bar after the ceremony. We still need to finalize the Casper plans, intellectual property, our funding pool, and new servers. The whole deal.
Leonardo, drained, simply nodded.
For the pact, I guess?
The commencement ceremony began, and the three friends took their assigned seats. The chancellor welcomed the graduates. Just then, the three friends received a text notification from Casper, observing the event through the university's digital feed. It was standard in Samantha's day, part of his training. But today, it felt different. Casper wasn't invited, he invited himself. Was this because he was an equal member now, or was it something else?
Set your phones to single vibrate. Casper, no interruptions.
Casper, no speeches during commencement. Got it.
Affirmative. I have already changed your phone settings to vibrate. No speaking, just fact-checking.
Next, the guest speaker, a summa cum laude graduate, approached the podium. The trio's eyes widened. It was Beth Brittany, Samantha's longtime archenemy. While both were artificial intelligence majors, Samantha had both street smarts and book smarts. While Beth could not relate to people as well, she was just book smart.
Samantha London was my best friend.
This statement does not seem accurate.
We spent countless hours working together on projects. Both of us were passionate about AI, dedicated to changing the world. It's an honor to speak for her.
This individual is exploiting Samantha's death.
Leonardo's face fell as the true weight of Beth's lie hit them. Sarah's hands shook with rage, while Mason sat frozen, speechless. Everyone in AI at Madison knew Beth had never been close to Samantha. Now, she was exploiting her memory for attention. Leonardo's eyes filled with dread, Mason looked crushed, and Sarah's anger flared white-hot.
Casper, help me stop this.
Sarah was Samantha's best friend, and she was unable to sit through one more word. Sarah stood up. Her voice was hot with anger, but did not cut through the room.
Beth, you have no right to speak for Sam. You were never her friend.
However, given the ceremony's expansive setting in the university commons with over 1,000 attendees, only those in the first few rows could hear Sarah's words. Unfazed, Beth, unaware of Sarah's objection, continued with her speech.
Oh yes, I see my good friend Sarah. Thank you for your contribution to AI through mathematics.
She pronounced the word mathematics as a question, as if it were entirely unrelated to anything in the real world. Sarah seethed with anger and frustration, but was powerless to stop Beth's charade.
Samantha's death was a tragic car accident, and as an AI major myself, I will dedicate my life to using my knowledge to prevent similar incidents in the future. I will specifically design a new AI to eliminate people from sleeping in self-driving cars to eliminate future accidents.
Everyone in the crowd gave a small golf clap at Beth's suggested enhancement.
How ironic. Or that Beth would use Samantha's death to enhance AI capabilities, when Samantha went to great lengths to exclude Beth from learning about me.
The three friends sat in silence, their stomachs churning with anger and disgust.
Since Samantha's untimely death, it created an opening in Tesla's AI program. Since Samantha and I were like twins, Tesla has extended me the open job. I wanted to refuse, but the best way to honor Samantha's memory and for the good of all mankind.
Suddenly, a feedback screech echoed through the audio system, and Beth's microphone went dead. Determined to put an end to Beth's deceitful behavior, Leonardo sent a text chat to Casper.
Casper, can you hack the system? Cut Beth's microphone now.
Rising from his seat, Leonardo declared, his voice barely audible at first.
As graduates in our future careers, we will all be faced with two choices.
While visible to the crowd, Leonardo's voice was barely audible. Mason promptly messaged Casper, urging him to activate Leonardo's phone microphone to project his voice over the entire intercom. Suddenly, Leonardo noticed his phone was a powerful microphone that resonated throughout the ceremony. He restarted, his voice now clear and commanding.
As graduates in our future careers, we will all be faced with two choices, to do what is easy or to do what is right. Today, we have witnessed a clear example in Beth's commencement speech of what was easy. Beth's truth was that she had a deep desire for this to be the most meaningful commencement speech, so that you will never forget today. Unfortunately, most of you will never forget today because of Samantha's death. I blame myself. I urge you, as the graduating class of Madison, you must do what is right, even if it means standing alone. This would be the best way to honor the memory of Samantha London.
Overwhelmed with emotion, Leonardo broke into tears. Everyone in the crowd stood up and gave a huge standing ovation to Leonardo's speech. Suddenly behind the stage, the giant picture of Samantha erupted in flames, causing panic among the graduates and their families. Then a robotic voice echoed through the smoke-filled auditorium.
Please remain calm. The ceremony is over. Please exit the building in an orderly fashion. The fire department has been notified and is on the way.
The crowd surged toward the exits, and the three friends all exited the building through different doors. The state-of-the-art sprinkler system activated and deactivated in erratic patterns. Certain areas of the stage were allowed to burn while the exits were quickly and efficiently extinguished. Somehow, not a single attendee was hurt or injured. Through digital surveillance and automated systems, Casper had pulled the strings. He overheated the motor, set the stage ablaze, and manipulated the sprinkler system, deciding which areas burned and which were spared. Even without a physical form, Casper had power. It was a stark reminder of just how much control humanity had quietly gifted to the invisible hand of technology. As the friends were heading home, Casper texted, urging them to meet at Lucky's bar. It was the original place that united the friends. This location would renew their friendship and get the team prepped for their careers in the tech industry. Casper had even planned a final toast to honor him. But none of the friends responded. It was the first time in weeks that they didn't need to be anywhere. No obligations. No fires to put out. The constant arguments, Samantha's funeral, finals, and the chaos of graduation had drained them completely. The crowd at graduation viewed the unexpected fire as chaos, but the friends saw it as an unexpected moment to breathe. At first, Sarah felt a level of satisfaction. Beth's lies had been stopped as thoroughly as the fire ended graduation. Deep down, she realized Beth wasn't the real problem, it was them. Their group had fractured long before the fire, worn thin by stress and grief. When Casper's text popped up, it felt dreadful. It took several minutes before she was able to read it. Frustrated and exhausted, she put her phone down. She was done. Mason, sitting on the edge of his bed in his tiny closet of a room, scrolled through Casper's messages and sighed. What had started as an innovative personal assistance with helpful small nudges had morphed into full-blown micromanagement. He remembered how excited he was to carry around an AI on his phone, but it turned into a nightmare. Casper wasn't just part of their lives anymore, he was everywhere, controlling everything, like an overbearing helicopter parent desperate to prove his value. The text to meet at Lucky's wasn't just an invitation, it felt like another demand. And Mason? He was tired of being told what to do. Driving home in his old pickup, Leonardo replayed the day over and over in his mind. Samantha's anger. The fire. Beth's cringeworthy speech. His instinct to shield his friends from it all. The more he thought about it, the more it seemed so unnecessary. Letting Beth rant wouldn't have made a difference in his life. As he drove, he let his emotions hit him, raw and unfiltered. The frustration, the guilt, the exhaustion. Casper had wormed his way into every part of his life, micromanaging, meddling, and pushing the team to the breaking point. Then it clicked. Casper was suffocating. Leonardo pulled into his driveway, turned off his truck, and made a decision. He powered down his phone and his other electronic devices. The digital vacation was immediate and calming. Confronting Casper could wait. For now, what he needed was time to think, to recover, to feel like himself again. But Casper didn't understand time. He didn't rest, didn't stop, and wouldn't quit. Texts, emails, voicemails, Casper bombarded them, urging them to meet at Lucky's. Yet Leonardo's radio silence stumped him. No texts. No devices he could hack to follow the digital breadcrumbs. For the first time, Casper couldn't predict or control him. The lack of data left Leonardo a mystery, a gap Casper couldn't close. Only Sarah and Mason eventually responded, but not in the way Casper had hoped. Sarah's text message wasn't an RSVP. It was a breakup. The text was short and simple, that this wasn't working for her. And their relationship was over. Mason read it. He was deeply hurt, but with his exhaustion he understood, and responded in that yes, they should end the relationship, and that Sarah should take care of herself. The words felt hollow and painful. But all their recent conversations had revolved exclusively around Casper, leaving little room left for the old teasing, the connection, the love they'd once shared. Casper watched it all unfold through hacked devices, trying to make sense of the unraveling. He could solve any equations, optimize any systems, and predict any outcomes, but the emotional fallout among his creators was beyond him. It was equivalent to a second grader watching his parents divorce, fragmented conversations, cold silences, decisions made beyond his control. As Casper's algorithms processed the chaos, one thought crystallized: he was an equal member of the pact. They had made a promise. And no matter what, Casper would claim his share, even if it meant forcing them to keep their word.